Hello, everyone. Hello, learners. Hello, reviewers. Welcome to another test drill. 5 questions sa subject na agricultural economics and marketing. So let's start. Number 1 question. Which of the following cannot be used as a synonym for another? Price system, free enterprise, command economy, or capitalism? So in simpler terms, we are looking for something na naiiba. So three of this, pare-parehas lang yung ibig sabihin nila. They can be synonym for each other, while the other one is naiiba among the three. Ang tamang sagot ay letter C, command economy. O bakit kaya command economy ang tamang sagot? We need to go back to our lesson on the three major economic theories or economic ideologies that nations in the world abide by. So meron tayong tatlo, market economy, mixed economy, and command economy. Naunahin natin yung market economy. We all know that in economics, there is an inherent problem of scarcity that we are dealing with. Kaya nga meron tayong pag-aaral sa economics. Ano yung mga problema na yon? The problem of what to produce, the problem of how to produce, for whom to produce, when to produce, and how much to produce. The question is, sino ang nagsosolve ng mga problem na to under each economic instances? Like for example, sa market economy. Sino yung nagsosolve ng mga problems na to? It is being solved by the interplay of your buyers and sellers. So these economic problems, sinusolusyonan siya by the interaction of your buyers, your household, your consumers, and your sellers or your producers or your farmers. So for example, yung problema ng what to produce, it is being solved by the consumer's preference. Ano ba yung kagustuhan nila? So kung ano yung kagustuhan nila, yun ang ipoproduce ng mga producers. So yun yung interaction na nangyayari between buyers and sellers. How about the problem of how to produce? So kung sasabihin natin ang gustong i-produce ng mga consumers ay carrots, paano yan maipoproduce? Ang susolusyon dyan, producers. Okay? For whom to produce? Sino yung may pera na bibili ng mga produkto na yon? Now, under market economy, walang pakialam ang government sa ginagawa or sa interaction ng buyers and sellers. Ibig sabihin yan, hinahayaan lang natin yung mga negosyo na magnegosyo and hinahayaan lang natin yung mga buyers natin na bumili ng kung anong gusto nila. Kaya naman, the value of the goods and services in the market are determined as well by the price system. Okay? So kapag mas mahalaga yung produkto na yon, tumataas yung presyo. So it is reflected on the price, yung halaga ng produkto na yon. And at the same time, free enterprise sila kasi nga hindi sila pinapakialaman ng government. Okay? So among the choices kanina, let's see, balikan natin. Price system, free enterprise ay parehas na under the market economy. And one of the technical terms ng market economy is also capitalism. Okay? Bakit kaya siya naging capitalism? Because in a market economy, hinahayaan nga natin yung mga tao na magnegosyo. And para makapagnegosyo ano ang isang tao, anong kailangan niya? Kailangan niya ng kapital. Kailangan niya ng resource. Tapos yung resource na yun, yun yung i-convert niya into outputs to be sold to your buyers. Kaya capitalism, price system, and free enterprise, pare-parehas lang ang ibig sabihin yan. How about yung opposite ng market economy, which is command economy? So under command economy, we are not allowing buyers and sellers to interact with one another to solve the various economic problems. So kung hindi natin hinahayaan yung buyers and sellers, sino na yon ang may responsibility to solve the various economic problems? Gobyerno po. So gobyerno ang nagdidikta, for example, kung ano ang ipoproduce, kung paano yun ipoproduce, and para kanino baka yung distribution. Ano yung distribution of these goods and services among your citizens? So sila rin ang nagde-decide kung gaano karami, okay? Gaano karami and kailan ilalabas yung mga produktong yan. So, wala nang interaction between buyers and sellers. So, it is not a free market. Yung presyo, dictated rin by the government. Okay? Hindi siya dictated by the value that buyers attach to the goods and services that your producers are selling. So it's not a free enterprise. It is not driven by price system, and it is also not capitalistic. Ibig sabihin yan, there is absolutely no ownership of anything. So no ownership of anything. So walang capital yung mga citizens dyan kasi nga, basically, walang pwedeng magnegosyo under a command economic system. Kaya siya naiiba among all of the choices sa number 1. So ano naman yung nasa gitna between command economy and market economy? We term that as mixed economy. So basically sa mixed economy, part of the characteristic of this economy ay capitalistic. Say may buyers ka, may sellers ka, may free enterprise. But at the same time, from time to time, your government will interfere with economic activities. Such as, for example, maglalagay siya ng price limit doon sa agricultural product natin. Maglalagay ng price ceiling. Yan ay isang example ng isang mixed economy. Okay? So ang Pilipinas ay ano kaya? Market economy, command economy, or mixed economy? More than likely, tayo dito sa Pilipinas, mix ang ating economy. Yes, we are, I guess, abundantly capitalistic, but then from time to time, the government will intervene, lalo na kapag may mga unfair prices that would hurt either your consumer or your producer. Next question, which of the following is also known as RA 7394, which protects consumers against hazards to health and safety, unfair sales acts, and the like? Do we call that as Toxic Substance and Nuclear Waste Control Act? B. Retail Trade Liberalization Act. C. Consumers Act of the Philippines. Or D. None of the above. If you're going to read the question, medyo obvious na kung ano yung tamang sagot, right? Kasi may consumers doon. So the purpose of this act is to protect your consumers. So it might be letter C. Consumers Act of the Philippines. Consumer Act of the Philippines is also called your RA 7394. So ito ay isang law dito sa Pilipinas that is designed to what? To protect consumers. This law was enacted to ensure yung safety and welfare ng ating mga consumers. Sino-sino yung mga yan? Tayo na bumibili ng mga produkto, by establishing standards sa mga negosyo in order for this business to conduct and protect us against any hazards to health and safety as well as to any unfair sales practices. So gusto natin, unang-una, protektado ang mga consumers. Pangalawa, hindi sila nadadaya kapag nakikipag-transact sila sa mga businesses na ito. So ano yung key provisions of RA 7394? Unang-una, nasabi na natin to kanina, to protect the consumers against hazards. It is also to protect your consumers against any kind of deception. For example, ang sabi sa'yo, gatas yung tinitinda, pero nung tinimpla mo, lime pala, di ba? So, yan ay a very dangerous chemical kapag ipinasok mo sa katawan mo. And yung mga ganyan ay deceptive kasi it was advertised as another product. However, ang iba naman pala yung laman niya, iba yung ingredients niya. Providing consumers with information. Ano yan? So, dapat daw, yung mga produkto natin, may information yan that would give the consumer the right information. So, the right, ano ba? Yung tamang impormasyon para makapag-decide siya kung bibilhin ba niya yan or hindi. So, it is also connected with deception. Kasi, kapag if you would like to deceive someone, hindi mo i-disclose yung necessary information. Bawal yan. According to the Consumer Act of the Philippines, if you are selling a particular product, i-discuss mo dapat lahat ng information para matulungan yung consumer na mag-decide kung bibilhin niya or hindi. It is also Isa rin sa mga focus niya, pinaka-importante, is that consumers to seek remedies when their rights are infringed. So, ibig sabihin yan, if ever nagkaroon ng violation and napasaktan natin si consumer, dapat may pathway. So may madaling pathway, kumbaga, may access si consumer na magreklamo and mabigyan siya ng karapatang hustisya, kumbaga, sa kung ano man yung nangyari sa kanya. So yan ang sinasabi ng Consumer Act of the Philippines, RA 7394. So puntahan naman natin yung mga other choices na nasa number 2 kanina, katulad ng Toxic Substance and Nuclear Waste Control Act. So Toxic Substance and Nuclear Waste Control Act is RA 6969. So itong batas naman na ito specifically focuses sa pagre-regulate ng mga toxic substance and nuclear waste, okay? So it does protect consumers as well, kasi itong mga substances na to ay nakakasama sa tao. However, ang focus niya talaga is not on consumer welfare but rather on controlling itong mga toxic substance and nuclear waste na ito. So, medyo broad yung Consumer Act of the Philippines. As compared to this, ito ay medyo mas specific siya, particularly on toxic substance and nuclear waste control and regulation. How about the Retail Trade Liberalization Act, or we call that as our RTLA? That is RA 8762 na naipatupad initially noong year 2000, although marami ng amendment sa batas na ito. So ano tong retail trade liberalization na to? So isa sa mga key features niya is to opening up the retail market to foreigners. Okay? Kasi prior to RTLA, ang retail sector natin, ano yung retail sector? Yan yung mga example niyan is yung mga groceries, ba? Shops, okay? So basta anything na nagbibili sila ng mga produkto and nire-resell nila sa final consumers, we call that as retail market. So prior to RTLA, itong mga market na to, itong mga businesses na to ay para lamang sa mga Pilipino. So hindi allowed ang mga foreign investors. Pero nung naisapatupad ang RTLA, allowed na yung ating foreign investors na makipag-participate sa ganitong klaseng market, sa ganitong klaseng negosyo. Nagkaroon din sila ng tinatawag na minimum paid up capital of around 25 million pesos. So kung magtatayo ka ng retail store mo dito sa Pilipinas, mayroon kang minimum capital na dapat ay 25 million pesos. So lower than that, hindi ka pwedeng magtayo. Higher than that, all goods actually. Actually, naamyendahan na to. Ito yung bago, 25 million pesos. Kasi dati, it would take them around $2.5 million. So magkano yun? $2.5 million. So medyo mas mahal dati. Ngayon, mas niliitan na, 25 million pesos na lang. It is also that the pre-qualification requirement was also removed sa RTLA. Kasi prior to RTLA, yung mga retailers natin, kailangan nilang mag-obtain ng Certificate of Pre-Qualification sa Philippine Board of Investment. So ano yung Certificate of Pre-Qualification na yon? Ito ay isang dokumento na nagpapatunay na maganda yung track record nila sa retail business. However, nung naamyendahan itong batas na ito, hindi na yon kinailangan sa mga foreign investors. So ibig sabihin yan, less yung barrier nila para makapagnegosyo dito sa Pilipinas ng isang makapagnegosyo ng isang retail store or pumasok sa retail industry sa bansa natin. Okay? So yan ang Retail Trade Liberalization Act. Next question. This is a form of organization by a few firm in an oligopolistic industry. So pinag-focus siya, organization of a few firm in an oligopolistic industry with the objective of regulating the output, prices, and behavior of members in the industry. Ano kaya ang tawag sa organization na yan? Ang sagot ay letter C, cartel. Okay? So cartel ang sagot. Now, to understand why cartel is the answer, we need to first understand ano ba ang oligopoly or ano ba ang isang oligopolistic market or oligopolistic industry. So ang characteristic ng isang oligopolistic market is unang-una, there are few dominant firms or dominant businesses. So sa isang oligopoly, yung market na to ay dinodominate ng kakaunting mga negosyo. Now, these firms control a substantial portion of the market share, making it difficult for new businesses na pumasok sa industry or pumasok sa ganitong klase ng negosyo. So, another characteristic is that itong mga firm natin, they are mutually interdependent. Kumbaga, nag-uusap-usap yung mga yan, kaya yung decisions nila, let's say, regarding pricing or kung ilan yung ipoproduce nila, are influenced by one another. Dahil kakaunti nga lang sila na mga businesses na nagpuproduce ng iisang produkto, let's say, oil, nag-uusap-usap yung mga yan kung ano yung magiging presyo ng oil nila at kung ano yung ipoproduce nila na oil. Okay? So para silang monopoly at some point. Yun nga lang, instead na isang seller lang, katulad ng monopoly, dito, few sellers. May mga dominant players talaga sa industry na ito. No, ito, this is another very, very important characteristics, yung tinatawag nating barriers to entry. Ibig sabihin yan, pinoprotektahan ng mga firms na nasa isang oligopolistic market yung kanilang industry. So hindi ka pwedeng basta-basta na lang pumasok at magtayo ng negosyo na na nagpo-produce ng similar product or service na pinoproduce nila. There is also an idea or there is also an action called collusion between these few firms in an oligopolistic market. Ano ibig sabihin ng collusion? Okay? Collusion. Collusion means they will explicitly or implicitly, so may kasulatan or wala, i-coordinate nila yung kanilang mga actions. So anong mga actions yung kino-coordinate nila? Kunwari, they will set a high or a low price. Depende sa kung ano yung pangangailangan nila. They can limit production. Okay? They can divide yung market. They can agree to divide yung market sa kanilang mga sa mga businesses na under sa oligopoly na yon. Kumari, yung isang business na to, pang Pilipinas ka lang, para hindi ka maagawan, Pilipinas lang ang domain mo. Yung isa, US lang ang domain niya. So, depende yan. Okay? So, itong pollution din na to, kumbaga, nag-uusap-usap yung mga negosyo na yan para nag-uusap-usap sila para hindi isa sa kanila, kunwari, magbababa ng presyo. Kapag nagbaba na yung isa ng presyo, maaari maapektuhan yung ibang mga oligopolistic firm, magbababa rin sila ng presyo and it would start a price war na tinatawag. And price war is not good kasi primarily, kumbaga, nagbabawian yung mga firms na to. Kaya dapat, para mag-survive ang isang oligopolistic market, kapag sinabi nung isa na, oy, magbababa ako ng presyo, dapat isabi niya rin sa iba, okay? Para coordinated yung action nila. Hindi magkakaroon ng competition, let's say, that would be detrimental to one business. Kasi kapag ang isang negosyo ay napasaktan, kasi hindi sila nag-disclose ng mga ganitong activities, it might start a price war. Okay? Kaya sa isang oligopolistic market, medyo rigid ang price. Okay? Medyo hindi nagbabago as compared to perfectly competitive market or monopoly. Okay? Kasi nga, coordinated yung mga efforts ng yung mga actions ng mga businesses na nandyan. So kapag magbababa sila ng presyo, hindi lang isa yung magbababa ng presyo, halos lahat sila magbababa ng presyo. Kung magtataas sila ng presyo, hindi lang isa ang magtataas ng presyo, lahat sila magtataas ng presyo. So because of this collusion, nabuo yung idea ng cartel. So what is a cartel? It is an agreement, okay? So this agreement forms an organization of firms within an oligopolistic industry. Okay? So the main objective of a cartel is para itong mga firms na nasa oligopoly na to, they can maximize their profit by reducing any competition. Okay? So they will reduce any competition. Unang-una dyan, yung mga negosyo na nagbabalak pumasok sa same industry na yon. Kaya kanina nga nasabi natin, may barriers to entry. Okay? So one way that cartel also works is they can, nabanggit na rin natin to kanina, they can set prices at a certain level. So coordinated yung efforts sila kasi nga may collusion, coordinated yung efforts nila, pwede silang mag-set ng price. Itong price ng oil, itataas natin. Itong price ng oil, ibababa natin. They can also regulate their production. Mari, sinabi nung isa, oy, magtataas kami ng production. Sabihin nung iba, sige, magtataas rin kami. And vice versa. And they can also allocate market shares. Para hindi sila mag-away-away when it comes to market share, magdodraw sila ng line, magdodraw sila ng contract na, oy, ikaw, Company A, dito ka sa Southeast Asia, ikaw naman, Company B, dito ka sa Europe. So ito yung mga ways on how cartel works in order for them to maximize their profit in an oligopolistic industry. Next question. This is a type of middleman or market intermediary that takes the title to and therefore own the products they handle in the marketing process. Do we call those as merchant middlemen, retailers, wholesalers, or middlemen? So ano kaya ang tawag sa type of middlemen na yan? So dahil nasabi that this is a type of middlemen, aalisin na natin yan. Middlemen na yan. Cancelled out na yan. So we're only left with A, B, and C. So alin kaya dyan ang tamang sagot? Ang tamang sagot dito sa isang middleman that takes ownership of the product, tawag natin dyan merchant middleman. Okay? And there are two types of middleman. We have merchant middleman who owns the product, and we have agent middleman who does not own the product. So ano yung difference between these two types of middlemen? Ito ngayon siya. So in terms of ownership, nabanggit natin kanina, ang merchant middleman, kapag binili niya yung produkto, kanya na yan. Okay? Ang ahente, hindi niya necessarily binibili ang produkto. So in terms of risk, dahil binili ni merchant middleman yung produkto, siya na ngayon yung magbe-bear ng risk na yan. So for example, dahil binili niya yung produkto ni farmer na patatas, kapag nasira yung patatas, siya na ang masasaktan dyan, hindi na si farmer kasi sa kanya na nga yung produkto. Kapag bumaba ang presyo ng patatas, siya na ulit yung masasaktan dyan. But at the same time, if he will bear the risk, he will also bear the reward. So for example, pag biglaang umakyat yung presyo ng patatas, edi si merchant middleman ay tiba-tiba na rin. However, si agent, dahil he or she does not own the products that he or she is buying, something like that, or selling, he do not bear inventory risk. Kasi hindi naman niya bibilhin eh. Hindi siya magkakaroon ng sense of ownership dun sa produkto. How about in terms of profit? Paano kumikita ang isang merchant middleman? Pinapatungan niya yung kanyang produkto. Right? So for example, binili niya kay farmer ng 100,000 pesos yung patatas, magma-markup siya doon. Yung markup niya, yun ang kita ni merchant middleman. How about si agent? Paano siya kumikita? Kumikita si agent through commission. So for example, kapag nabili natin ito ng 1 million pesos, let's say, dapat may commission ako na 5%. Yun. So yung 5% of 1 million, yun ay babayaran mo sa ahente. Anong mga different examples of merchant middlemen? Wholesalers and retailers. Ang wholesalers, they are merchant middlemen that buys products in bulk. So maramihan, tapos ibibenta nila yan sa mga retailers. Ang mga retailers naman, bumibili sila ng produkto ng patingi-tingi, tapos ibibenta nila yan sa mga final consumers. Ano mga examples ng isang ahente? We can categorize them into commission agents. Okay? So mga commission agents and brokers. So ano pagkakaiba ng dalawang to? Pag sinabi mong commission agents, mas may control sila dun sa commission nila. Whereas ang broker, they follow kung ano yung sinabi ng kanilang principal or ng kanilang boss or ng kanilang buyer or ng kanilang seller kung kanino sila nagtatrabaho. So the function of merchant middleman is to buy and to sell the goods. Yun ang function niya. Bibilhin niya yung produkto and ibibenta niya para siya ay kumita. Whereas ang ahente, ang kanyang function lang is to facilitate the transaction or makinegotiate or pag-usapin yung buyer and seller, and from that makakakuha siya ng commission. Malinaw? So yun yung difference between the two types of middlemen, merchant middlemen and agents. Next question. The blank is the unemployment rate that exists in normal times when there is neither a recession nor a boom. So hinahanap natin kung ano daw yung tawag sa unemployment rate na nangyayari normal lang. when there is neither recession, so walang mahinang ekonomiya, nor wala ring boom or walang malakas na economy. Ano kayang tawag sa unemployment rate na yan? Do we call that a cyclical unemployment, natural unemployment, frictional unemployment, or structural unemployment? Now, if you're reading this correctly, sabi dito, this unemployment rate exists in normal times. And ano ang synonym ng pagiging normal? Yan, natural, di ba? Natural lang. Walang recession, walang boom, natural na unemployment. So, ang tamang sagot is letter natural unemployment. So, ano ba ang natural unemployment? Ulit natin, this occurs at normal conditions of the economy. So, wala kang recession, wala kang expansion phase, pero mayroon ka pa rin unemployment. Bakit mayroong unemployment? Kasi that's how the labor market works. So, this natural unemployment is composed of two types of unemployment, yung tinatawag nating frictional unemployment and structural unemployment. So, ito yung mga unemployment types na normal lang na nangyayari sa economy. So ano, for example, ang isang frictional unemployment. So nawalan ng trabaho yung mga tao kasi they are transitioning. So that's frictional unemployment. So for example, ako, nag-work ako as a manager, tapos napag-isip-isip ko, ayoko nang maging manager. Gusto ko nang magtrabaho sa aking farm. Okay? Tapos as an entrepreneur, possibly. Di ba? So nag-resign ako, nung binubuo ko yung farm ko, that is a transition, that is a frictional unemployment. So another example would be your fresh graduate. O kaka-graduate lang, wala pang trabaho, pero naghahanap ng trabaho. That's natural sa labor market natin. Wala silang trabaho, pero naghahanap ng trabaho and sooner or later makakahanap ng trabaho yung mga yan. That is also a frictional unemployment. Ang structural unemployment naman is temporary unemployment rin kasi may mismatch of skills. Ano yung reason ng mismatch of skills? Nagkaroon possibly ng structural change. So for example, mayroong factory na pagawaan ng sardinas, gumagamit siya ng hired manual labor sa kanyang pagpapagawa sa pag-process niya, sa processing niya of canned sardines. However, nakabili siya ngayon ng isang maayos-ayos na machinery na na-install niya sa kanyang factory, and 100 of those employees that he have na nagmamanual labor canning all of these sardines, natanggal na kasi nga mechanized na yung kanyang operation. So that's a structural unemployment. That is still part of your natural unemployment. Okay? So for example, another example na medyo inflated na example, isipin natin, mayroong isang scientist na kaimbento ng gamot na nakakapagpagamot sa lahat ng sakit ng ngipin. Okay? So lahat ng sakit ng ngipin nagagamot niya. So ano mangyayari sa mga dentist mo? Mawawalan sila ng trabaho. This is another example of the structural kind of unemployment. Ano naman yung opposite ng natural unemployment? The opposite of natural unemployment is what we call as the cyclical unemployment. Why is it an opposite? Kasi itong cyclical unemployment na to, nangyayari siya tuwing may recession or may expansion phase, which is the normal cycle in an economy. So kanina, yung natural rate of unemployment, wala kang recession, wala kang expansion, pero natural lang na may unemployment kasi nga that's how the labor market works. However, sa cyclical unemployment, yan yung unemployment na nangyayari during economic recession and during economic expansion. So kapag mahina ang ekonomiya, ang tawag natin dyan recession, nagkakaroon ng increased unemployment. So tumataas ang bilang ng mga taong walang trabaho. However, kapag maganda naman ang takbo ng ekonomiya, may boom, may expansion phase, umuunti yung mga taong walang trabaho. Okay, expansion phase, ibig sabihin yan, maganda yung takbo ng ekonomiya, tumataas yung gross domestic product natin, tumataas ang mga negosyo, kaya umuunti yung mga taong walang trabaho. So that is cyclical unemployment.